After version 3.0, it's reasonable to expect the following version to be a little more calm, but that's quite the opposite in version 3.1 due to the content available and the stacked banners to pull from. Amongst the banners, it's clear there will be a lot more focus on Ameth since she is pretty much the highlight of version 3.1. Though with that said, there will be a lot of players still looking forward to the release of Luuk, due to factors such as being one of the very few male characters in the game and the fact he holds a lot of value as a Spectro main DPS. So considering we do already know quite a bit of what he's capable of, alongside a small gameplay teaser in the story definitely hooking some players in, I'll be going over his kit standouts as a Spectro main DPS, team synergies you may want to consider, echo builds to prepare, weapons to utilize, then I'll be wrapping it up with his overall value, and when we do reach the second phase of 3.1, if Luuk really is a DPS worth considering for your account. Before we do jump into it, I do have some more codes to hand out to you guys that provide a few things including Astrites. So to be picked, just comment down your favorite WuWa character and respond to me asking for your Discord. But do bear in mind, I will of course be leaning towards those that are subscribed. With that, do also drop a like if you are interested in more WutheringWaves content and if you enjoyed the video. Now before anything, if you are looking to max out Luuk on release, then as a heads up, all of his materials that are required have been revealed within the Ascension Planner, which is pretty nice since unlike Ameth, you won't need to worry about farming anything when he does drop. Now diving into this with the fact, as mentioned, Luuk is a Spectro main DPS, which clearly will have some tough competition within this version since he is releasing after Ameth. So with that said, he won't exactly hold the most value in 3.1, but he still does appeal to a number of players, given he is expected to deal great damage and will be extremely easy to build, allowing him to be a great DPS to consider for those that don't want to think about the additional accessories when picking him up. Now if we are to just ignore Ameth for a second, Luuk does have great animation, but alongside that also has an extremely smooth playstyle where he switches between using a surgical blade and a scythe. With that, it's obvious there will be different abilities he can activate depending on the state he is in, and from what has already been revealed, the secondary state where he does use a scythe does primarily focus on mid-air combos, which do look extremely smooth and fun to pull off, but more importantly will likely deal a lot more damage than the default state. Now purely due to the standard banner weapon and the echo set already in game, there are a few aspects with Luuk's kit that are more or less already confirmed. One would be the fact he does focus on dealing basic attack damage, given the Rite of Gilded Revelation echo set pretty much provides a solid Spectro and basic attack damage bonus. In addition to that would be the fact he is capable of inflicting tune strain shifting on enemies, since in order to fully utilize the Pulsation Bracer standard banner weapon, it will require him to deal damage to enemies that are inflicted with tune strain interfered. Now of course this could mean he would need Lene to inflict tune strain shifting on enemies, but given she is intended to be utilized alongside Ameth, it then means there is a better chance of Luuk then inflicting tune strain shifting through his own abilities. So he will essentially be self-reliant with being able to inflict tune strain shifting in order to make full use out of the standard banner weapon, which does contribute towards the fact he will be very free to play friendly and isn't tied down to having a premium sub DPS with a specific ability. So all in all, Luuk does seem promising and should be a solid character to take into various modes, given he is capable of both single target and AoE attacks throughout his kit. So with that said, there should be enough value for him to certainly contend and perhaps topple the other Spectro DPS characters. But again, as the best main DPS in 3.1, that is likely going to be something out of his reach if we are considering overall value between Ameth and Luuk. Now there isn't going to be much to Luuk's team composition since there won't be many to consider, given the fact he does focus on basic attack damage, and as mentioned in previous videos, the best basic attack damage amplifier remains to be Sanhua. In total, we do have 3 resonators in the game that can amplify basic attack damage, but amongst them Sanhua provides the highest amplification, and so with that, alongside the fact she is a 4-star that every player picks up for free, it means it's pretty much a no-brainer for anyone using Luuk to then pair him with Sanhua. So alongside Luuk and Sanhua, you could use a few different supports such as Mornier, Shorekeeper and Verena, but it is pretty clear that Mornier is going to be the best support to use alongside Luuk, not only since she can provide various buffs including a bonus towards tune build-up rate, but also since Luuk will be capable of activating the 40% damage bonus Mornier provides when tune shifting is inflicted on enemies. So Luuk will be one of the few characters that enables Mornier to utilize all of her abilities, which allows both to synergize extremely well and for Mornier to definitely definitely feature in his best composition. With that said, Shorekeeper and Verena should still provide enough value for Luuk to clear majority of content. So especially if you wanted to go as free-to-play friendly as possible, you could definitely use Luuk alongside Sanhua and Verena, which would be a team that should perform well and requires you to pick up Luuk as the only premium unit. Now alternatively, it's worth mentioning you could use Lene instead of Sanhua, given she is still the best overall sub DPS in the game and can synergize with pretty much any main DPS. Of course, she does specialize alongside liberation damage dealers, and you may in fact already be using her alongside Ameth, but for those that want to use Lene alongside Luuk, it would certainly be a viable option due to the amount of universal buffs she provides. In addition to those buffs, there is the fact that she does also inflict tune strain shifting and tune rupture shifting on enemies, which can contribute to the uptime of Mornier's 40% damage bonus that is provided to the team. So clearly, Lene will also be a great option to consider alongside Luuk. Again, it's quite likely for those that do have Lene will be using her alongside Ameth since she is her best in slot. But in any case where you do find yourself being able to use both Luuk and Lene together, she will be a great choice to use right alongside Sanhua. So from that, Luuk doesn't necessarily have much team versatility, but considering one of the sub DPS options is free for every player, it then doesn't really matter as anyone can use Luuk near enough max potential. As always, when it comes to signature weapons, you will want to consider them if you do want to use the character at their best. But especially with the main DPS characters, you may want a signature weapon more than others since they will be carrying the team. So with that said, Luuk's signature will hold a considerable amount of value, and essentially like with every character in the game, if you do want to use them at max potential and to extend their long-term value a bit further, his signature weapon will then be something you may want to consider. Of course, closer to his release, we will be able to see exactly how much value the weapon holds, but like other characters there will be some alternative options, and especially within Luuk's case, he does in fact have a fantastic free-to-play option being the Pulsation Bracer from the standard banner. Given it provides a solid crit rate main stat and with the passive, it provides a 12% attack bonus like usual and a total basic attack damage bonus of 24% when dealing damage to enemies inflicted with Tune Strain interfered. So from the passive, it's clear that this weapon was more or less made to be Luuk's best alternative option. Of course, it doesn't allow him to hit as hard as when equipped with the signature, but since he does fully utilize the passive and gains great value from it, alongside the most important fact, which is these gauntlets are free with standard banner pulls, it means Luuk might not need the signature weapon as much as others due to the alternatives available, which does factor towards his overall free-to-play friendliness since at this point you don't need a premium sub DPS or weapon to get him going. Now another alternative would be the Abyss Surger since it does provide a small basic attack damage bonus via the passive and is also free from the standard banner, but it's definitely not anywhere near the value the Pulsation Braces do hold due to its attack percent main stats and since it does have weaker passive multipliers. Lastly, you could use pretty much any 5-star gauntlet on Luuk simply due to its crit main stat, but of course none of them will be as good as the standard banner weapon, and so with that said, if you are intending to pick up Luuk, then you will want to aim for either the signature weapon or Pulsation Bracer at the very least. With Echoes now, it's pretty obvious that the Rite of Gilded Revelation would be his dedicated Echo set, given it provides a spectral damage bonus through the 2-piece effect and through the 5-piece effect. When dealing basic attack damage, it increases spectral damage by up to an additional 30% at max stacks, but also at max stacks, the user will be granted a 40% basic attack damage bonus through his Resonance Liberation. So it's clear that these effects will be great for Luuk, and so given that this set is a 5-piece set which has been out since version 3.0, it means you just want to focus on farming the set through both the Tacit Nest and Tacit Field. Usually, I would recommend alternative sets worth using just to be able to use the character on release, but this time it won't be necessary, which is pretty great for those picking up Luuk since you will actually be able to use him at max potential on release. Finishing up with the stats to prioritize on Luuk's Echoes, as a main DPS he will want either crit rate or crit damage on the 4 cost. With the 3 cost he will want spectral damage bonus, and the 1 cost he would want attack percent. As for substats, crit rate, crit damage and basic attack damage bonus would be the main priority. Then attack percent and either energy regen or flat attack will make a perfect Echo. Overall, Luuk is going to be a great main DPS given he will be able to deal top tier damage, but perhaps the main reason players will consider him would be due to his simplicity and ease of use. From his abilities to his team and to his weapon, it's clear to see they have tried to make Luuk really easygoing, so he does hold solid value and much more for newer players or even for those that simply want a main DPS that doesn't require much to perform incredibly well. Perhaps he doesn't perform as good as Ameth in terms of DPS or doesn't have the amount of special animation animations she has within her abilities, but there is still a good bit he is capable of and quite arguably is the new best Spectra main DPS. So from that, it wouldn't be a terrible idea to consider Luuk for your account. Though pulling over Ameth is something I personally wouldn't advise, but it really is your pawns at the end of the day, and if you do perhaps enjoy his design and animations even more, then Luuk is going to be a solid main DPS to pick up for your account. And with that, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'd really appreciate it if you could subscribe for more WutheringWaves content, and if you enjoyed the video, drop a like. Also, do drop a comment down below on your thoughts on Luuk and whether or not you will be picking him up. And yeah, hope to catch you guys later.